The Society for Culture and Environment extends a warm welcome. You are watching a session on Priyanka Chopra, the incredible story of a global Bollywood star. Aseem Chhabra, in conversation with Bubbly Moitra Saraf from the Bhopal Literature and Art Festival, January 2019. Aseem Chhabra is a film journalist, freelance writer, and festival director of the New York Indian Film Festival and the Silk Screen Asian American Film Festival. He has a regular column in The Hindu and has been a commentator on Indian cinema. Bubbly Moitra Saraf is the principal of Indraprasth College for Women, University of Delhi, where she is an associate professor in the Department of English and heads the Department of Multimedia and Mass Communication. She has several awards to her credit.
Those credentials, I'm sure, sum up either Aseem or myself. I'm actually a popular culture buff, and my objects of study are, among other things, popular culture artifacts. So I'm here, I theorize on popular culture, and what makes Aseem's book interesting to me is how he has treated Priyanka Chopra, but what I want to sort of nudge a little in the direction of this conversation. Maybe, Aseem, you could tell us a little about your, if you agree, otherwise we can just have a conversation.
Ask me anything.
Of why Priyanka Chopra, and let us not go by the blurb of your book, because if I may say, he has quoted on the cover of the book, "She is our biggest crossover success story," and he has quoted Karan Johar. Now, Karan Johar is, I don't know if he is qualified to be the biggest certifier of this success story. So I want to know from you what actually prompted you to zero in on Priyanka Chopra as an object of a book.
Just make a brief comment about why the quote from Karan Johar. You may not be a fan of Karan Johar's films. I find them very loud, very over the top, too melodramatic. Karan is only in his early 40s or something. I don't know how old he is. But Karan, over the years, in the recent years, one can say, has sort of taken over this image of being sort of quote-unquote the godfather of Bollywood. You just saw 2 days ago, Karan took this young brigade of actors to see Modi. I'm not saying good, bad, Modi, whatever, but the thing is that Karan has a following now in Bollywood. But more important about Karan is, my book is not about Karan, it's about Priyanka Chopra, is that he's a very astute observer about everybody in Bollywood. And hence I interviewed him. Why did I write the book on Priyanka Chopra? I wrote a book on Shashi Kapoor that came out 3 years ago. Please buy it, that's downstairs. It's a very well produced book, the photographs are beautiful. I really enjoyed working on that. And then there were conversations about what else to write. I found Priyanka's life, and I write about it in the book also, that I wasn't very impressed with her as an actress for the longest time. The first time I saw a film of hers was Bluff Master, which was her, I don't know, 8th or 10th film or something like that. And I later went and revisited some of her earlier films while I was writing the book, and before that also. But Priyanka has had a certain part of her life in America. I've been living in the US since 1981. And although in the last 2 years I'm mostly in India now for personal family reasons. And one of the things I've done when I became a film journalist, was to observe Indian cinema from a perspective of, you can call me an NRI, whatever you call me, somebody living in America. And so one of the things I had worked on a lot, I'd written a bunch of articles, interviewed Priyanka about her efforts to break into the pop music scene in America, which was a complete failure for her. I'd already started observing about why she had sort of crossed over, and Quantico initially was a big, I wouldn't say success, but there was a lot of talk about Quantico for a while. And I was trying to understand the whole phenomena in any case. So even though I had not signed up to write this book, but the book was kind of being written already because I was already working in that direction. Of course, a large part of the book also tracks Priyanka's career, her whole Miss India, Miss World, how a 17-year-old girl from Bareilly becomes a Miss India, Miss World, and then sort of makes her way into Bollywood, even though she was a terrible actress for the longest time. She herself acknowledged, and now she evolved into a fine actress.
I think 2 or 3 things about your book that I would like to flag here. It's no Boswell's biography, because Priyanka Chopra is not a collaborator in this book. That is something which stands out. She is not part of this book as a participant. She is the object of the discussion. So that's interesting for me as somebody from literature who has looked at biographies also. Number one. Number two, what is interesting about the character Priyanka Chopra that you have touched upon, or perhaps can also, I don't know, you may give us the reasons why she did not collaborate, whether she was approached at all or not.
I'll talk about that.
Would you like to respond immediately, or should I continue?
Yes, of course, continue. Yeah.
Because you can if you wish to.
Very quickly, I'll tell you one thing. So I actually, the woman who sort of made Priyanka's career in America, her name is Anjula Acharya, who I've known for about 15 plus years. Anjula is a venture capitalist and also is involved in popular culture, and initially brought Priyanka for her music career to America. So in 2017, early 2017, I started having conversation with Anjula. I was in New York, saying I signed up a contract to write this book on Priyanka, and Anjula was very keen, and we had a lot of back and forth messages, WhatsApp messages, and she connected me with Priyanka's. I spoke to a lawyer who represented Priyanka, and then that law firm also had a lawyer who represents celebrity books. So suddenly 2 lawyers were on the phone with me, which was pretty daunting for me, and they had conditions which I discussed with my publisher. But while we were discussing this, suddenly there was a silence from their end, which got me very worried. And then the word came. They told me that Priyanka had signed a contract to write a book of her own, which is going to come out this year now. It's called Unfinished, apparently, which is the last word in my book, by the way. So her publishers, Penguin Random House, now that we learn, had contractually forbidden her to talk to another author. I mean, she can give interviews otherwise, but for book purposes. So I was told Priyanka will not collaborate with me. So, I mean, I was disappointed, but I think this gave me a certain sense of independence, actually. I could be critical, I could be objective. I didn't set out to write a critical book. I'm writing a book about somebody who I ultimately do admire, but I could be objective without having the author reading every word of what I'm writing.
Yeah, that's interesting because, of course, intellectual property rights and other kinds of contracts do act as constraints on us as authors. However, you are absolutely right. What made it interesting, therefore, was the confabulations with which Priyanka Chopra surrounds herself. That actually struck me a lot. Whether it is about her childhood, which is obfuscated, we don't know really how and what happened, how she grows, some episodes in her life, including the ones which involve her with married men, perhaps, or her rivals like Aishwarya Rai, married men like Akshay Kumar. I hope I can say that without being libellous here.
No, because
it's there in the book.
And I wrote it in the book also.
Absolutely,
in the press.
absolutely. So, so those were, I think, areas where you could have had a certain sense of freedom to treat and also to include it in the book. We'll have to wait and see whether Priyanka Chopra does it herself or not. For me, the most interesting part is where actually you have flagged, that is, as an American, as an NRI, or we like to call it the diaspora. The last part of your book where you talk about Quantico and the kind of dynamics that Quantico generated in the industry, as well as you know, your treatment of accentism, how how English is spoken, how that determines the inclusion, whether certain kinds of racial types lead to, in what ways the industry is exclusionist. I think that became the most interesting part for me, because this whole construction of the other, which is what Priyanka is in Quantico. I think that that part of it was quite interesting, and I wish you had dwelt a little more on that. I also began to suspect that she may have financed her posters on various, billboards, and I don't know. I'm not a great admirer, but I do see.
I've heard other rumors also, by the way.
I don't know. Well,
Which I do not touch upon
the two films, Etraz and Fashion, were very well acted, I thought. I'm not a fan, but regardless. So if you would want to comment on that aspect of Priyanka, which makes her this crossover, not a success story, but an interesting object of engagement. Her story becomes an object of engagement for generating other kinds of discourses which are important to us as those as we inhabit the world as global citizens and make incursions into the ventures of the world.
So what happened was, after her attempts to launch a music career, which was completely, it didn't go well at all. Most of her music, if anyone bought it, but people did buy, and 99% were her fans in India. And it was misguided in the sense that if you want to become a pop star in America, you start as a teenager. Most of these young pop stars, African American young girls, they all start very early. Priyanka was in her early 30s when she was starting, and clearly, things were not in her favor because she looks very foreign. She does. She looks like us, which is, although America has people of different colors, etc. There was a lot of racist attacks against her when she initially, some of her music was launched. Priyanka and Anjula Acharya Bhatt happened to be at a party, a Hollywood party, where at least I think it's all by chance. It could have been planned. I don't know. Where they met a Korean American woman called Kelly Lee. Kelly was a senior executive at ABC, which is, as you know, one of the four major networks in America. And her clear responsibility was, there's been a lot of criticism against Hollywood, of course, but even television, that it's very white centric. I mean, although television sort of in America, there are many shows now over the last 10, 15, 20 years which have African Americans and some Asians also. But Kelly Lee's job primarily was to show some sort of a diversity, which represented basically the racial colors of the social colors of America. And they happened to meet at this party, and Priyanka at that time was in the middle of doing her Bollywood films, and she really had no intention of starting to work in America unless she was given a substantial role which was of the level of where she was. I mean, she had just done Bajirao Mastani, which was doing that around that time, or she was doing, I think Gunde was what she was doing, but then immediately after that she was in Bajirao Mastani, she was in Dil Dhadakne Do. So this conversation went on for a while because Kelly was very keen to bring, I mean, she had already launched the careers of some Latina actresses, Mexican actresses, Asian actresses, and she was very keen to see if she could bring an Indian American because, bringing an Indian American, of course, it's not like only Indian Americans will watch ABC's television shows like Quantico, but the Indian American community is fairly well off in America, and advertisers and everybody else, studio executives are interested in sort of engaging them. And the only one of the ways you can engage them is if you bring somebody very well known from their part of the world. They finally sent Priyanka a whole range of scripts, 20 plus scripts, and the one she selected was Quantico, which I personally don't think is a great show at all. I got very bored watching it, and in fact, even writing for the book, I couldn't finish it, even the first season. But what happened was, in the summer of 2015, so we're talking about less than 3.5 years ago, I was standing at the subway station in New York City in the underground basement. I'd already heard Priyanka was going to appear on this television show at ABC, and I suddenly saw this poster. Some of you may have seen images of posters. I have a few in my book, which I took without knowing I'm going to write a book about it one day. Well, there's a huge poster with Priyanka Chopra's face and an FBI badge that she had on her lip, and in bold letters it said Quantico, and then it said ABC with the logo, and then it says September, I think 27th. That's when it was released in the US, and I think it released in India a week later, the show. And I was like really surprised. I said, my God, that's Priyanka Chopra. I've been looking around and there are other hundreds of people waiting for the train to come. And none of them had any clue who this woman was. I'm the only one because I happen to be Indian. I followed her career. I'm like, this is amazing that ABC is really promoting this show with a complete unknown face. Usually, when you have just a face on a poster like that, it has to be somebody like Tom Hanks or somebody like Julia Roberts. That's very, very internationally recognizable personality. I wasn't the only one. Then I began to notice his buses in New York City had Quantico with Priyanka's pictures. Friends in Toronto, friends in LA, everywhere people are seeing. In fact, a friend sent me a picture from Shanghai behind a bus. What was happening basically was ABC had a lot of conviction behind the show, and they were sure that the show would do very well, and hence they were going to invest and put in their level as much they could do to sell the show. And the show was basically being sold. I mean, even though it's an ensemble piece, Priyanka's character obviously has Alex Parrish has a lead role in it, but clearly Priyanka it was being sold with Priyanka's face. And even in fact before the show was launched also that summer, there's a television producers conference where they introduce the new shows to come in the fall season only to the press. ABC just went with this show, and one of the top ABC executives and one of the top the executives of Quantico, and just Priyanka Chopra. Now the thing was that Priyanka is a very she's a very fine speaker. She's very Bollywood trains these actresses, and if they're smart, especially. I'm not saying all Bollywood actresses are necessarily smart. Priyanka is very smart. She's very, very articulate, very charming, very likable. She's very quick to retort to questions and answers. And ABC had that much of confidence in her, and the show took off. And I was like, wow, this can happen in America in 2015. I was like, but things are changing.
Well, you also talk about her Guess ad, the ad she did for Guess Jeans.
The mic isn't working.
Somehow when I touch it, it goes off. That's okay. I think I have a teacher's voice which should reach there. It's been almost 4 decades. Hello, can you hear me? So as I was saying that, Asim, you've done also a section following Quantico or contemporaneously with it, her desire to be the guest model, and which she did with great deal of success, you say. You also just said, how she's the one who was showcased, and considering that she truly was unfinished, as your last sentence says in the book, what is your opinion of the media event that she has made of her wedding? She has been savvy enough to look at rights, to have the photographs and everything else privately taken along the lines of many Hollywood celebrities, and very unlike the kind of public event that that actors have made in India, celebrities have made in India of their weddings. So this Nick Jonas, Priyanka Chopra wedding is also a crossover in many ways. She has defeated, though she was, actually what you talked about was ageism in Hollywood. She was old enough, she was a big superstar, and she was old when she joined what should have been joined as a teenager. She defied that. In her choice of her partner in marriage, she broke all expectations, social expectations and norms in that sense, to marry a man several years her junior. And also, it's a kind of crossover, and it is a media event in more ways than one. Of course, whenever an actor marries, it is a media event. But to hold on to the rights to sell it as one would sell a cultural artifact, a produced affair, a construct. What does that say to you about Priyanka and her future? We truly look forward to her book. What does that say to you about Priyanka and your sense of Priyanka that you tried to capture in this book, in this biography that you have done?
I wanted to since Babli mentioned the guest ad. This is one of the guest photographs. In fact, I have 3 more in the book, which I was very fortunate to get an interview with Paul Marciano, who's the CEO of Guess, and they very kindly gave me 4 photographs to use. But yeah, Priyanka was sitting at an airport with Anjula, whose name I had mentioned before, and they were going through some magazines. They were in a lounge room in an airport. I think Heathrow or something, if I remember correctly, right in the book. And Priyanka just saw there was a Guess jeans ad, and she said to Anjula, make me a Guess model. And Anjula said, people who know Priyanka well call her Pri. And she said, well, Pri, this is going to be impossible. You are not blonde, you are not white. I mean, they'd had, I think, only one non-blonde, non-white Guess girl. That was, I think, Naomi Campbell a while back. But Priyanka said, I'll be the first then. And Anjula, through her magic, managed to get this first an introduction with Paul Marciano, and then Priyanka went to meet. And again, Priyanka has that amazing charm. Something I didn't mention earlier, by the way, I just want to jump on. So, along with just her photograph with the ABC, one thing that she, with ABC then tried to do was, and they always do that if they have a star signed up, because they want audiences to watch the show, is that Priyanka was on practically every talk show. And those talk shows reach millions of homes in America. Housewives during the day are watching these talk shows, early during the day, late night talk shows. And Priyanka was always charming, bubbly, bright, intelligent, fun. She knew how to play the game. And this is exactly, she went to meet Paul Marciano, and Paul Marciano immediately said, you're the next Guess girl. Now, part of what I tried to write in the book also is I think Guess was trying to make an inroads into India. And of course, if we look at Priyanka, she doesn't necessarily look Indian. She looks sort of like Sophia Loren or something like that. She could pass for an Arab. So I guess Guess was trying to obviously branch out to, although they're in like 90+ countries, but reach a larger audience, the larger the number of consumers than just people who are white or something. Nick Jonas and Priyanka. When my book was finished, it had been edited, it had been typeset, the first photographs of Priyanka and Nick Jonas came out. They were on a boat one weekend with a group of friends. And that was the first time that Priyanka had actually allowed a photograph of hers to, or she had posted on Instagram herself, with another man who she was not doing a film with, a project with, because all her rumored affairs, and I touch upon them in the book, but they were never specifically photographs with her. Well, there have been one with Shah Rukh Khan, but otherwise there weren't any specific photographs of hers with anybody to suggest that she was in a relationship. This is the first time that photograph was officially launched by Priyanka herself, and she was obviously hinting at something. My editor said, look, the book has been typeset. You can probably, if you want to mention it, put in a sentence, because then that, as long as it doesn't upset the page line up and all. And I'm like, Rehne do, I had no idea how much, and even before the book was out, it had become a bigger story, and it became a bigger story. Hona hai to hona hai to, and also the thing was, it was very important for me to finish the book. I had a deadline to give my manuscript, and I kept, months after that, I kept adding as the book was being edited. And what is a good place to end the book was that Quantico in season 3 was cancelled early last spring. And so that was a part of Priyanka's story in America that had ended. But I also mentioned then again that, Priyanka herself in an interview, she had said that her life is sort of unfinished. And I said, this is just sort of the middle of her career as such, and I call it unfinished. I didn't know where this relationship would go. It became a big media event, but just weeks before that, we saw another media event, which was Deepika and Ranveer's wedding, and then weeks later we saw another media event, which was Mukesh Ambani's daughter's wedding. All of these events are completely orchestrated. It's a huge machinery that runs this operation. It's bigger than a film production. It's bigger than a big theater Broadway show production, really. Frankly speaking, what do I make out of it? I was bored to death. I was like, this is too much, really. It was too much. And you know, people come and say to me, "Oh, what do you think about her relationship with a guy who's 10 years younger than me?" My opinion, first of all, doesn't matter. They seem to be in love, and if they're in love, I'm very happy for them. I wasn't invited for the wedding because no, but,
Obvious reasons.
no, well, not necessarily obvious reasons. Actually, one of the 10 different receptions she had, practically every film journalist was invited in Bombay. Now, for one thing, I'm now living in Delhi, but people still think I'm living in New York, so I'm often not invited for events. And if it was something I wanted to get invited to, I would have tried. But then to go up there and to hug them and shake them, congratulate them, kapde kharidne padte hain, basically.
Excellent, yeah. I think that's reason good enough. Kapde kharidne padte, which is another industry altogether. You know, you have actually brought together many of our own observations, even as scholars of popular culture, that the Miss India, the Miss World, the Miss Universe, these pageants came to India, and Indian women got them also to open up a whole channel for entry of this entire cosmetic industry, the fitness industry, and other kinds of industries, and the event management industry, and of course the whole point of this Guess ad could well be the entirely capitalist impulse of moving into another market of huge numbers of consumers with surplus income. I think we can wrap up with, I'd like to share my experience of buying your book, and that's why I'd like to ask you the question. When I Googled this, after I was told that I'm to discuss this book with you, I tried to buy it, and the first thing that came to me was the Audible book. It was an Audible book which was being advertised on Google. Now I'm a senior citizen, and Audible books, though I'm very much ingrained in the tradition of orality as a cultural phenomenon of our country, the Audible book, of course, takes it to another level because it is another entity. It's another commercial entity. Did you signed up to make an Audible book with a narrator?
I signed a broad contract with publishers, any which way they can make, sell the book basically. I actually have not heard the Audible version of the
There's a free download of some minutes.
I must listen to it because the Shashi Kapoor book, which I wrote 2.5, 3 years ago, there's an Audible book of that also. And I actually heard a little bit of it, and I said, my God, this guy is trying to sound like me. So the thought crossed my mind that I should ask my publisher. I'm working on another book with them now, and I don't want to reveal it. But I want to ask for a little bit more money so it be my voice in the Audible book.
Why not? Why not? There's somebody called Sanjay Mahatre. And I heard the book. I said, अगर खरीदे बगैर काम चलता है तो ये सुन लेते हैं. पर उसमें ये था कि you have first 30 hours of free download, and then you have to give your credit card. I am very suspicious as an old woman of putting my sort of details on online, yeah. Especially for an actress of whom I'm not a fan, But she interests me for the reasons that you have delineated, and she interests me at the end of the reading for the kind of stereotypes, as I said, that seem to be challenged constantly in a showbiz world which is global and whose market, after all, Indians can vote anyone to number one position because of sheer numbers. The democracy of numbers is something that the world cannot maybe China can, but no other can. So India has huge stakes in that sense, or as maybe perceived to have stakes in Indians. The world may be seen to have stakes because A.R. Rahman was also a crossover story, as are many others. Yes, Irfan Khan. So, some last words, Asim?
I wanted to actually tell you that you said you're not a fan, and I don't want you to, I'm not going to convert you here, and you said you've seen Aitraz in fashion. Do watch Bajirao Mastani.
I did. She was very good.
She was very good, and that
She
was
was
one
very
of her
good.
last
I'm
films.
not a fan, is another level. You know, I'm a Madhubala fan. Now what can you do
But what
about
can you do about it? I completely understand that. But Bajirao Mastani, I saw Dil Dhadakne Do, her performance was very interesting, and in fact, the role that, in fact, I write about that, and I told Zoya also the role.
Indeed.
You know, the character of an unhappy wife who's very successful, very well educated, doing very well in her business, and
Born to a Punjabi family, conservative in its values.
when she wants to,
Yeah.
she's unhappy in the marriage, and you know, when there's a whole, you guys have seen the film, I'm sure, and there's a whole family conference basically, and Zarina Bab, who's her mother-in-law, says, "Does he beat you up? Beat you?" And she says, "No." "Does he does he deny you to do this or that?" She says, "No." You know, there's nothing that he does that is bad, wrong. She says, "I'm just bored with him. You know, I just don't feel a passion for him." And I think that concept, idea, which many men and women feel in relationships in real life, Hindi cinema never takes that. And I thought that was really remarkable.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would agree completely. Dil Dhadakne Do was remarkable for many reasons, though it was a lot of candy floss, but regardless, you're right, absolutely. The brother-sister relationship, the entire, you know, sort of this unhappy young woman who has everything going for her in a marriage. It's a big eye-opener for all of us who have, children out there doing all this, but then, you know, nobody, I think, now looks at forever. Godrej was forever. HMT Watch was forever. What is forever? We don't know anymore. I think that we can wrap up between us, unless you want to have...
No, that's okay. Any questions?
And I would be happy to take questions. Yes, Kaniz. Yeah, a sentence in introduction and a confession about whether you've read the book or not. We need confessions.
I haven't read the book. I'm Kaniz Razavi. I live in Bhopal and I'm generally a chatterbox and I work in books. My comment about your book is that it is a brave thing to start writing about somebody you don't particularly like and then start liking as you get them to know them better, which is probably a human experience. Many times we don't like somebody and we start liking them as we get to know them better.
Actually, can I just correct you there?
Yeah.
By the time I'd set to write the book, I was already an admirer.
Okay.
What I was talking about was
Initially.
when her career was launched, and I mean, I was like, yeah, there was the Priyanka Chopra, you know, the Bollywood actresses kind of a thing. I couldn't have spent 2 years really focusing on somebody, even though the subject grows on you, but you can't spend time with somebody if you don't particularly like them.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one misconception that, okay, she's a 17-year-old from Raebareli, but she did spend a few years in America. And since I spent a few years from America, that has held me through my entire career of 46 years, America does something to you. That's all I wanted to say.
No, and I actually spent some time, I write about her, the 3 cities that she lived in: Cedar Rapids in Iowa, and then she was in Queens, New York, and then she was in Newton, in Massachusetts. And since I live in New York, I took I don't know if any of you have taken, I took this F train, which is like the longest train. I went all the way to the end of the train, and then I took a bus. It took me like 2-3 hours to find Priyanka Chopra's school. But I said, I had to find the school, I had to find the environment where she was, because I really wanted to know what kind of environment was she growing up in. It gave me a real taste of, it's a very working class neighborhood. And my sense is that this is her mother's sister. They were not very wealthy, well-off immigrants. They were living. It's a very safe neighborhood, but I found it very interesting that the kind of people Priyanka was interacting with, the kind of shops and stores in the neighborhood, the pizza stores. So I spent some time looking around there, just to understand her life in America. Yeah.
Thank you for watching the session from BLF 2019. Kindly subscribe to our channel for more such videos.